what does that mean? Like,
how do you define
are you only a hoe and people know that you be hoeing? Like, if you keep your shit low key or it's respectable, so to speak, where people like your business not on you, are you not a hoe because people don't know that you hoeing?
Let's say that you are hoeing, which we haven't defined yet.
Okay.
No one knows that you're hoeing.
Yeah. But you know that you've been hoeing.
You're not a hoe because no one knows about it.
And that's what I'm saying. People.
So, but hoe is public perception.
But so it's only a hoe because it's like let's take a prime example. Someone that, and I didn't even say she a hoe because I don't know what she got going on. I don't know what's going on in her vagina neither. But let's look at like Laurie Harvey. She been bouncing around talking to a lot of different dudes. We've seen her with Diddy. We've seen her with his son Justin Combs. We've seen her with Future. We've seen her with Trey Songz. We've seen her with several men within the past year.
Getting it popping, right?
But we don't know that she's fucking any of them. But the appearance of her bouncing around to all of them made me people think like, oh, she out.
So let me give you a different perspective of that. I don't know the time frame of the bounce, but I think it was a couple of years.
I don't know because I don't know like that. I know people.
I would argue what we see Laurie Harvey doing is what we see women in our towns doing. Mm-hmm. Right? So the only difference is that Laurie Harvey is popular. Mm-hmm. She has millions of whatever followers, however you want to call it. So like, there's no difference. It's just on a grand scale, and because you got blogs that track each and every one. Meanwhile, the chick that you see at the club, there's not blogs tracking her. So the one at the club is not defined as a hoe because you really don't know. But then Laurie Harvey on a couple of these blogs might be defined as one because you can see and track each one of those. And that's what I'm saying. And hoe is a perception.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, dudes be like, I don't want to date a girl that's a hoe. But I'm like, if you don't know that she a hoe, like if you don't know that, it wouldn't. Her wholeness doesn't bother you until you know, and it's not even until you know. It's the people around you know. Like, oh yeah, bro. Like, I know your girl used to mess with so and so and so and so. Because you don't really care until other people around you know. Even if you just knew to yourself and nobody else knew, I think you could probably stomach that. But it's when people around you know and bring it up to you. That's when you start feeling. I think it's a little bit sense of insecurity. Like, oh, these people know about my girl.
Unless it's true.
Yeah, well.
unless it's true.
Well, say well.
You know what I mean?
But you know, I like the example that we talked about. Like, when does someone be determined to be a hoe? Like, if you had 10 bodies in 10 years, that's one body per year. Some people might say, that's not too bad. Like, you ain't been in a relationship. You only had sex with one person per year. Cool. But if you've been in a relationship 5 or 6 of those years, and then you rack up 15 bodies in the 4 years that you're single, that's like roughly 3 or 4 people a year. Is she then a hoe? Like, what is a hoe? Like, what that mean? And we know that it's different for dudes because I think as women, I think we don't necessarily do this intentionally, but I think we give them somewhat of a pass because we expect them to have a certain number of bodies. And I think it's just it's an unspoken thing where we're like,
I don't think dudes can be hoes.
Why not?
Because women don't care how many bodies dudes have.
That don't make you not a hoe. I don't care about it. Doesn't make it less than the fact that you are something.
But I think like that's part of the definition within hoe is that it's a body count that off-puts the party that's hearing it. That's why I feel like it's a sliding scale.
I don't know.
So it's a sliding scale. Like when you get to the lower limits of how you define like that number, that objective number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like there's some people that'll say anything over a virgin is a hoe. There's some people that was to go to that extreme and say that. And then there's people that are like, one body a year over 10 years, 10 bodies. That's not, that's not a hoe. But then the 15 bodies within 4 years, that's a hoe. But then there's others that wouldn't define it as that. So there's not like an objective number of hoe, right? Like, because it's also what goes on with those sexual experiences, like what actually happened. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because when I say the word bodies, like, what does it actually mean? Is that just, you know what I'm saying, top, bottom? Like, what was used in that act until which degree, and how often did it happen? Right? Like, was it a one-night stand? Was it a new relationships, 1-year relationships? Right? Like, there's so much that goes into that word, and there's a lot of judgment that's placed on top of that. But I think, but that judgment also, too, is because of the implications of condomless sex And part of the implications on both persons, when you consider like STDs, you know, and to that nature, and that needs to be considered as well. But then also that y'all can have babies, which to me, if you look at those two, the dichotomy of those two on a scale, having babies to me is way more important because it's actually giving life to a whole nother thing, right? So like there's a degree of, if you use your body for these feel-good sensations, but you're doing so in a way with people who don't mean much to you at a rate that is disrespectful, and that even disrespectful can be...
What's a rate that's disrespectful?
It just depends on the other person's perspective. That's what I'm saying. It's a perspective-based term.
It is.
But if you're doing that, because of the implication of the outcome that can happen within your body, so it is way more important than what a man does with his glow stick.
So if a man could get pregnant, you would view hoe differently.
Yes.
For men. That's what
But we can't. So
not yet.
What the fuck?
They're doing a lot of funny stuff out here nowadays. Like, science is wild. I think that for me personally, and someone came to me and was like, yeah, I got roughly 200 bodies, I would be like, yikes. I don't want chicklets.
Usually dudes don't.
That's a used up stick. Like,
yeah, but if he said I have, over the past 10 years, I probably about 100 bodies over the past 10 years. If the dude was to say that, you'd be like, were they in the state? Do I know them? And if not, then like you'd be like, okay, well come here. Let's go get STD tested, and then
well you're getting tested regardless. 100 bodies, 10 bodies, you're getting tested.
But regardless, if the woman was like, I got like 100 bodies, the whole city-state question wouldn't even come up. I'd be like, oh, okay.
I feel like dudes.
Am I lying though?
So I think maybe for you you're not lying, but please believe there's dudes out here hitting people that have 100 bodies. That's actual passion. Because I think what dudes do to their friends, they hide like, oh, I would never talk to a chick that had 100 bodies, yada yada yada. Meanwhile,
behind closed doors, they
exactly because if you think about it, dudes be like, oh, I don't like this type of girl. Meanwhile, their baby mama is that type of girl. Boy, stop lying. The lies.
They be double rapping.
Listen, obviously not she's your baby mother, but that's neither here nor there.
I mean, it's tough when we bring anecdotal situations into a discussion about an aggregate.
I just think that people only are only gonna judge you if they feel like someone else judging you. They might have been okay with the situation, but it's like when they friends know about it, it's kind of like, oh, my friends know now. And I think this is something this actually came up with like T.I. and Tiny when the whole cheating situation came out about him cheating, and he was just basically like, this isn't the first time I cheated, like, and you cared because people knew that I was cheating. Like when
that's because it's embarrassing.
Yeah. And so do you actually care about the cheating, or do you actually care about the bias, or do you care about the embarrassment that's gonna come as a result of somebody knowing that you're fucking with somebody that has that many bodies? Well,
that's the thing, is that like a lot of that that people don't like about, because of that cheating thing, is a social construct that have been placed into our minds that we are supposed to be monogamous.
Listen, I don't like sharing, so you have to. But I know I'm selfish, so. But
listen, but don't fight it. Listen to it real quick.
I listen.
There's a social construct put in place that says, you were supposed to have the least amount of bodies I'm supposed to have. I mean, I speak with the social construct because I believe, I believe in a period. Right, but like, then you got periods of portions of the internet where people don't believe in the shit that I'm even talking about at all, and then they go to, swinger parties with their wife and have a good time. You know what I'm saying? So like, and that exists as well, right? But they're outside of the construct that I currently, or the judgment that I place on others in my current life. Like they look beyond that.
You're outside of what was considered normal, for lack of better words.
I mean, to my culture, right, like you go to other cultures and they're polygamists, and you were born in the United States, so you're selfish here. But if you were born in a polygamous country, trust and believe you'd have different ideologies.
I mean, I think that you have different. I think you would have different ideas because that is the norm. Like your norm is whatever you grew up around, and that's why I always say like with like common sense. Common sense is common to what is relative because it's common to what you've been around.
Big facts.
So people may think a certain way because that's what they grew up around. You know, it's like, oh, this is what I grew up around, so I think this is normal. When in fact it might be like wildly not normal. Like if you think about what you're doing.
I'm looking at the microphone. Sorry.
Oh.
I'm gonna change that soon.
Okay.
Keep going.
But like they look at stuff differently. It's like, oh, you know, I grew up in a household where there was domestic violence. So you might grow up thinking like this is the norm, so to speak, because that's what you experience. So it's not necessarily that it's normal to you, but it's like it's what you grew up around. So maybe you grow up and get into a new relationship, and this is how you treat your partner because that's what you saw growing up. And it's not necessarily because you don't think it's wrong, but it's like you have acquiesced to that because that's what you grew up around and it was normal to you in that setting. So that's why I always say like common sense is relative. I just think it's an interesting conversation to talk about what people think as a hoe or whatever the case may be.
How would you define hoe?
So I don't have a definition for hoe. I think it's a relative definition, aka there's not a real one. I feel like hoe is whatever you feel like to yourself. I think it has an individual definition to each person, because I think it's situational in terms of like you be like, oh, you know, like I said, the 10 and 10 years, one body per year, you might be like, oh, she's not a hoe, but the 4 and 15, you might think that she's a hoe. It just depends on what you think and what you value. Everybody has different values. Some people be like, you know, I like an experienced woman, so I don't want her to be a 300,000 mile Honda, but I want my woman to have had some experiences before me. I don't want to be the only person. Like how dudes be like, I don't want to date a virgin because she's never been with anybody. And I think there's a myriad reasons people don't want to date virgins, but that might be something like, oh, she a virgin, she never been with anybody, I don't want to date her. Period.
Do you feel like men can be hoes?
I do. Whether it matters or not to me that you are hoeing is unimportant to the fact that you a hoe.
Men.
Yeah.
What is your perception of a man being a hoe? Like, what is that number? What is that feeling? What is that?
I don't know if it's like. I think as a woman, I expect you to have been having sex. Most men start having sex a lot of times very young, whatever the case may be. So you've been having sex for some time now. But I want to feel like you respect yourself. Like you're not out here just serving that beef cake to everybody.
I feel like dudes.
And I know sometimes
here's a dude that's a hoe. I don't think that there's a number. I don't think that there's a. I think a dude is a hoe if he cannot control himself.
Where he controlled by his other head.
He cannot control himself. He simply he is led completely by not his brain. Right. And like that then is any argument, but besides that, like I feel like whether or not it's 100, 200, 300, 400, like it's not a hoe, he's just capitalizing on a situation, in my opinion.
I don't know, that's situational, because I mean I feel like most men go through a period where they are controlled by their other head, aka college. So at that point in time, most men out here conquesting whatever they can get their hands on.
Well, I feel like, but the difference is I understand what you're saying, but the difference is someone who doesn't want to have sex in a relationship or something like that, and then can't stop with other people who he's not in a relationship with, and keeps on continuing to do it over and over and over again. Then there's components of hoe because he's guided by that act and not by what he's trying to do. But besides that, like I think it's completely different because of our anatomy. I think it's completely different because of the implications and the outcomes.
But this is exactly what I'm talking about, though. Y'all give yourself the pass for being a willing participant in a situation that.
You don't think it should be different?
I think there could be differences, but I don't think I should be giving myself a pass. Like, oh yeah.
What would be those differences? Let's talk about that, because if you say that you don't think we should be getting a pass, I gotta understand why.
Well, I don't think that. I think there's a certain level of respect you should have for yourself as a man. You're like, I don't want to have been out here sleeping with a million, trillion, fulfilling women, but. I don't think anybody should be doing that, man or female. I feel like there should be just a certain level of respect you have for yourself and your body. You're like, I'm not here with everybody. You know, like not everybody can say like they didn't have sex or they didn't have oral from me. I feel like that's just a certain respect you should have, and that's across the board. It's fine to have sex or whatever. I think the general expectation is that as a man, you probably have more bodies than the woman has had. 'Cause I think
maybe.
Fine, maybe, but. I think the general consensus is y'all have had more bodies than women's had in most situations. And I think to a certain extent, it's expected, and I think society gives y'all a pass, like, oh, he's a man. Like, when men have sex, it's, you know, pats on the back and hand claps. When women have sex, it's like, the response is not the same.
Yeah, but I don't think it should be the same.
But just let me say, I'm not saying that it should be the same, but what I am saying is that there should be a certain level of respect that you hold for yourself, male or female, and how you conduct yourself in these streets.
Yes, certain level of respect. I cannot name any other situation, unless you can name some, other than a dude who wants to be monogamous but cannot, time and time again.
What do you mean by cannot?
Cannot.
That's choosing.
Because he's led by his other head.
He's choosing not to. He's actively making a choice. Having sex with another person is an active choice. You don't just fall into another woman's vagina. If you are not being faithful, you are choosing not to be faithful. So everybody has choices.
So even if he's choosing it, then it's, you know, whether or not he's choosing it or not choosing it, it's still an action that he's guided by, right? Like, and if he chooses it, he may not want to actually choose that, but he ends up choosing it because his other brain turns on and then he pursues that forward. But what I want to hone in on, and because you've touched on it a couple of times, is that there seems to be in your mind like an equalness between sexes when it comes to how our body count should be viewed.
I'm not saying
I'm
not saying it should be equal.
They should be viewed very differently.
I'm not saying it's an equalness, but I'm acknowledging the fact that there's a double standard. I mean, I'm not saying which I'm acknowledging. There's double standard. Men and women are different, so they're treated different in terms of their sexual experiences.
Yes. Do you not agree that should happen?
So I'm not saying that I disagree with that, but I don't think that I think men should be equally conscious about their sexual escapades as women should. I'm not saying that no matter what, the standard has been set that women and men are going to be viewed differently. But I think that both parties should be conscious of what they're out here doing with their body. And I think that's really the main point that I'm trying to hone on to. Not so much that they should be treated the same, because I mean, at the end of the day, the double standard has been set. We're not going to get to a point where men and women are treated differently when it comes to, or treated the same when it comes to sex. That's just, it is what it is. It's something that you have to accept. But I think that both parties should be conscious of how they're conducting themselves when it comes to sex. That's just bottom line for me. I don't want you as my future husband out here acting reckless. I'm not saying don't, do anything, but I don't want you out here acting like Wilt Chamberlain. No, thank you.
Was Wilt Chamberlain married?
I don't know.
And he can act the way that he wants if he wasn't.
So, do you feel that same way about a woman if she's not married?
She can do whatever she pleases, but
not gonna stop you from judging her.
I won't be interested.
But you will judge her.
I will not be interested.
Okay.
However, you will still be interested in Wilt Chamberlain.
I think for a majority of women, that's probably true. I cannot.
Okay. All right. Let's leave it there. Okay.
Okay.
That's the point, but I want you to understand. That's the key point right there.
I always understood that point. I was never shaky on that point.
So then we can't be judged the same with our body counts. We cannot.
I mean, even if you could, you will not. So it doesn't matter.
Questions, comments, concerns. Y'all already know what to do.
Drop them.
Mediocre tutorials and views at gmail.com. Make sure y'all like, make sure y'all comment, make sure y'all share. This is the type of conversation that we got to make sure we continue to have, because I think it promotes a dialogue that we should be having.
For sure, for sure.
All right?
See you next time, YouTube.
Until next time, YouTube. Pardon the masculinity.